What up, everybody? It's Double G and John LaRocca here for what is our third episode of the Moss edition of the Fight Game podcast. So we got to watch some wrestling, but before we get to the wrestling, did you get to watch any of the football today?
I watched. I really want to watch the first game, but we were pretty busy in the afternoon. But I did watch the second game, which was a better game. But I seen from the scores. But yeah, Chiefs again. You know, Chiefs and the Eagles. Probably Chiefs gonna beat the Eagles, I'm sure.
Okay, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I think the Eagles are gonna win.
I hope so.
Mahomes is he's like the not cool version of Michael Jordan. Like he's just the magic man out there, like can do everything, but he doesn't have like that necessarily that like swagger. Basketball's a little different than football, but yeah, he's amazing. And you know, the 49ers have lost to him twice in the Super Bowl. So I feel for the Bills fans. They were close, but I did sense that Kansas City was winning that game by about the third quarter.
I said the same thing. I was texting Promise Thomas back and forth, and we were talking about the game. And I think the Chiefs are going to win. He's like, I think the Bills are going to win as long as the refs don't make a bad give a call to the Chiefs. And then when Josh Allen ran to that for that first down, and they didn't give it to him, he's like, never mind.
Yeah. No, it was a really good game like that. I mean, you know, that was the most hyped game of the year, and I thought it delivered. So good on the NFL for putting on a good product. Yeah. All right, so what are we going to do here? We are going to talk about Saturday night's main event. We're going to talk a little bit about what happened on Collision, though I'm still at the main event on Collision, so I didn't need to. I didn't finish Collision, but I think I got through at least the newsworthy stuff for Collision.
I think I just got to the Tony Storm segment and I didn't finish the rest of it. I don't know how much was left on that show.
There was the women's 4-way, which was won by, I think Yuka Sakazaki actually won that match.
Yeah, because she's wrestling Mercedes Moné on Dynamite, I believe.
I think so. Yeah, and then the main event, which I haven't seen. There was like a Don Callis video as well, a Callis family video that they played. But why don't we just get to it? We kind of hyped it on our Fight Game podcast from Thursday evening on F4W Online. Let's get to the report card for Saturday night's main event.
All right, it's time to go to school, son. Come on, get your hands up, man. You need an interpreter? It's time to go to school.
All right. Second Saturday night's main event since they rebooted it. We had talked about like kind of just the hype wasn't there as much as the first one. And on paper, it looked like it was going to be a really solid wrestling show. I thought it was a really good wrestling show. But again, came out of it going like, okay, what separates this from Monday Night Raw or SmackDown or like a really good house show? You know, like I was like, yeah, that would have been a great house show just to go to if you're looking for wrestling. So we do positives and negatives on our report card. But before that, give your grade for Saturday night's main event.
I had a solid A. I really enjoyed it. It was a quick 2-hour watch, a lot of good wrestling, and I thought the Cody Kevin Owens segment was really good. And so I was very, after coming out of that, I was just looking forward more to the Rumble. You know, no big angles were shot, but I was just, other than the Cody and Kevin Owens deal, I was just looking for that show. Like I'm kind of hyped on WWE right now and been hyped for the big events coming up.
All right. I have a much lower grade. But it's also because sometimes we have different things that we want to see out of our wrestling shows. I gave it a B-. The matches were solid. I don't know if you looked at the odds. The odds were very one-sided, which meant none of these matches were really competitive in people's eyes. I thought they did a pretty decent job with the Gunther and Jey Uso match, thinking that, giving you the idea that Jey might win. But otherwise, I thought the matches were all pretty straightforward. pretty easy to understand, no surprises. And then again, like my whole reason for watching wrestling is what's the angle, what's the cliffhanger, should I tune in next? And this was like a happy-go-lucky, fun wrestling show, which is totally fine. And in some instances, for some fans, I think I think they're into that. But for me, who watches Raw and SmackDown and Dynamite, I think my video is a little off, but we'll see if it comes back.
Now you're a person known.
Yeah, hopefully it just comes back. But like to me, like I'm like, okay, like yeah, I don't know. The Netflix Raw was like more interesting to me than this Saturday night's main event. So I'm just not sure what this show is for, actually, because if we're 1 week out from the Rumble, and the only thing that they did Rumble wise was the Cody and Kevin Owens angle, and the big thing coming out of that was Kevin Owens getting super kicked by the NXT guy. Like, I thought Kevin Owens did a great job in the promo. I thought he came across as like a absolute superstar, but then he gets kicked in the face by the NXT commissioner. So I'm not sure if that necessarily made it better for the Rumble or not, unless we're getting a Kevin Owens and Shawn Michaels match, which I don't think we are.
Yeah.
I understand why they did it for the live crowd. I'm just not sure why they did it for the overall storyline.
They could be they might do an angle on NXT with him, maybe after the Rumble or maybe at this coming Tuesday. They could shoot something with Kevin Owens coming and causing chaos at NXT, trying to get at Shawn Michaels. I could see that happening, but they also, I think with Saturday night's main event is because they're trying to, hopefully this ratings will showcase it. They'll do better than last time, but
I actually think they're going to do way worse, by the way.
They might, but I think the idea is to establish or feature their, tippy top stars, get them out there like Rhea, Braun. It's more of a match angle with Jacob Fatu, establish him as this, the crazy monster wild man, and also Gunther as this unstoppable world champion. So I think that's what they're for. That's what they're trying to do, is just establish to a newer audience, hopefully, if newer eyes, like the new what you do, then you go crazy with this camera.
I just fixed it.
There you go. Yeah. So I think it's established, just establish the stars, Like I like that. I like opening up with Rhea Ripley. I think that was a big deal.
Okay, but was that match with Rhea Ripley where, I don't know, kind of wanted to see them build up to a body slam of some sort rather than her hitting her finish, which I didn't think looked great with Nia because Nia is just so big.
Still pretty impressive on Nia, though.
I guess. I mean, we understand how that works, but I don't know. I thought getting a body slam and getting her up in a body slam would have been like really, really cool. But okay, so that match, is that more interesting than when Tiffy cashed in on SmackDown? Like for the bang for your buck kind of thing? Like why does that moment happen on SmackDown? And then why does this match happen on Saturday night's main event?
It seems like Saturday's main event's more for just good matches and give strong wins to the top talent. Feature the top talent. I'm sure they're gonna shoot a big angle one, soon, but I don't know when. But I'm sure it's coming. They kind of shot their angles for Rumble, I think, at this point. So I don't know if they really want to do that to post Rumble, the big stuff.
Because historically, Saturday night main event was about the big angle going into the pay-per-view. And if this show is strong wrestling matches when we've already watched 6 hours of wrestling matches, I'm kind of like, I will watch it, of course. I'm just not going to make it that big of a priority because I thought it was going to be sort of like a pay-per-view or a PLE where things were going to happen and then they were going to lead to something else that you wanted to watch. And it's not what this show is because there was nothing on that show last night. But let's get to the positives and the negatives. So positives, no Hogan for one. That was a positive, I think.
Yeah, that was a smart move by all, I think,
Yeah. However it happened, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wonder if even Hogan even knows, knew, like, let's let the heat die down, brother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I asked Dave on Wrestling Radio. I said, you know him really well based on the history of him, and his popularity rating is maybe at the lowest, and he's generally a smart guy about reading the room. So that's what I thought.
Yeah, he should come out as NWO Hogan. He would have been, oh, see, they hate it. He's a heel. In the Hogan's the heel. So,
yeah.
Anyways, yeah. But
so I thought that was a positive, and they did bring some OG, old school guy, like $1 Million Man was out there, and so that was cool because he was supposed to be on the first one, and for whatever reason he wasn't on the first one. Medusa was in the. Did they still call her Alundra Blaze, or they call her Medusa? Okay,
they did call her Alundra Blaze, but she has on her social media accounts Medusa / Alundra Blaze. So,
and then the next positive thing is, I thought KO, specifically the KO part of the angle. He had the Cody sucks egg shirt, which I guess they're selling now.
That's
they got some heel merch for KO there. And I just thought he was awesome. Like, he's believes in his character so much, and it comes across. I do wonder, though, and we've kind of wondered about this, is, at some point, does Cody lose steam as like this babyface that everybody cheers for? And I don't know if this is purposely or not, but I sort of feel KO's like getting more cheers than normally. Yeah,
I didn't think so. I thought Cody was more over here.
Cody's he's absolutely more popular. I'm just sensing that there's going to be some cheers for KO during this match.
The Rumble match, probably, but I thought like during this segment on Saturday's Main Event when Cody cut him off and yelled at him, and I thought the crowd really reacted to that big time. I thought we would hear more boos maybe, but I think people just generally like Cody right now. I don't think he's presented himself, and they've booked him well, I think, as a smart babyface, and ready to fight, and he's never been put in a position where he looks stupid, I think.
No, he doesn't look stupid, but what he does look like a little bit, if you are into the KO character, is he looks like a bad friend, which was the Hogan thing that we talked about last time. That was like the Hogan storyline was, Hogan's a bad friend and the heel, that's what the heel leans into, and that's kind of what he's doing right now.
Yeah, but I think people see that, Kevin's out of his mind, and it's not what's really happening here, and Kevin's the one. I think the fans are buying this stuff, what they're giving them. So I'm interested in that ladder match. I'm not a big ladder match fan, but I want to see the finish, and if Randy Orton does get involved or not, or it's just a straight up match and Cody wins. I mean, Cody needs a win, So
yeah, he totally does.
Yeah,
and it's probably going to be the least high spotty ladder match that we've seen in quite some time, which I worry about positive to me.
Yeah, build up a couple big spots, and that's it, because you don't want to get Cody's valuable going into WrestleMania. You don't want something really bad to happen there, but he's also nuts too. So
yeah. He's the same guy who did the moonsault off the top of that cage in AEW and broke his foot or broke his toe or whatever.
Or felt the need to do a flaming table spot in AEW that went awry. So, yeah.
I don't know. I think during so close to WrestleMania season, hopefully he's a little less risk averse here.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other thing, and maybe the best thing on the show, though I will say it was a bit of a copycat angle, which is the Jacob Fatu thing. Like, that was awesome. He comes across as the craziest man in wrestling, the one guy you don't want to mess with, the one guy where, if your pops walked in, he'd go, is that guy supposed to be doing that? Like, what's going on here? He's got that fire in him. And I thought it was great, though it was like almost note for note the same thing that Bronson Reed did like 6 months ago.
Yeah, with the splash. Yeah, multiple splashes. I wonder if that was if they were going to do multiple moonsaults, or may they say the shit they got over Bronson Reed and get over Jacob Fatu. I like the match a lot. I like what they did here. I liked it was disqualification. You come back with a rematch too when Braun Strowman is healthy again, which I kind of hope he is left out of the Rumble to sell this injury. But he can also, if Jacob Fatu's in it, he can appear and they can, eliminate each other or something like that, and he can kind of fight to the back or something like that, or a big pull apart with agents and whatnot. You could do something like that for to get Fatu out of the Rumble if he's in it. I'm sure he is. I thought Fatu sold well for Strowman early on. It was and then Fatu ended up blooding him up. I think he probably bit on a condom full.
That was my guess too.
Yeah. It wasn't real blood. I mean, it wasn't hard way or anything. So then I it's what they needed to make him as a crazy star. People were talking about him a lot after that Saturday's main event, and that's what they wanted.
And like you said, the wrestling was really solid. The Rhea looked great. Bron and Sheamus,
that match is awesome.
They have such great chemistry, and their physicality just comes across. And Sheamus has been that kind of wrestler for so long now, and so you got Braun's kind of like a young Sheamus in a way, a little bit more athletic and a little bit more, he is a Steiner, but that's kind of how Sheamus was when he was younger too. So I really like that matchup, and there's this like small simmering. Actually, I don't even think it's small because they've been telling this story, but there's like this simmering thing where the fans are going to pop really hard whenever Sheamus wins that title. Even though it's not the world title, and he's been the world champion before. But
they made it a thing, though. They made it a thing for the future that he's never won the Intercontinental title. He's won everything else but that. I hope it's not over Braun when he does win it. But we shall see. But that match, that finish was awesome. That last spear was awesome. The spear off the steps was amazing. Like,
what about Jesse?
Jesse, I thought was, other than he went a little bit like to 11 at the end. I like some of his analysis. Like, that referee went a little higher on that count. You know, I thought that was cool.
Which
but like, he
set up that moment.
Yeah. And the crowd was just so into this match. With Sheamus, I think he hit the bro kick, and Braun took that great sell off it close to the ropes, which I'm like, okay, foot on the ropes, right? But that whole arena, man, the people were just like jumping up, counting 1, 2, and then when they put his foot, oh man, I haven't seen a foot on the ropes work that well in a very long time. So that was really cool. That was and that's the final spear, which looked like a freaking headbutt, like to the gut. Was Braun's a beast, man. He's amazing. I'm sure Ventura was just like, whoa, this guy's unbelievable. So that was pretty funny. Sheamus took a picture with Jesse Ventura at the put on his socials, like consoling him after.
Yeah.
I was robbed. So it was such a performance for Sheamus that they could come back at WrestleMania, honestly, and do that match again.
They probably could. And then, of course, the main event. Gunther. If they ever wanted Jey Uso to win this title, Gunther is kind of like the best guy because Jey Uso culturally, he's kind of the underdog, and there is a hip hop culture in wrestling, and the hip hop culture side of professional wrestling, like the Usos are like top dogs, like just the way that they act, kind of the way that they promo. And I noticed after Gunther won the match, there was a segment of fans who were kind of like, it would have been a great moment, if Jey Uso would actually win. And I completely agree. And I don't know if they're teasing it or not. Like, I don't sense that Jey Uso is in any sort of long-term plans to be champion. But as we've said before, if you wanted to do a short Mick Foley like run with him and to get that moment, which would be amazing, you could totally do that. But I don't sense that he's anybody's WrestleMania main event contender or champion going into this year's WrestleMania. Now, if he stays on the trajectory and if he stays hot going into next year, he could totally go full bore with him. But yeah, I like Gunther as the kind of the, you know, if you contrast the wrestlers, like Jay is just all color, all pizzazz, all promo, all fire, and Gunther's just like he's just the professional wrestler, and he's all business, and so it's a good contrast. And I could see why a lot of people thought that, oh, this could be the time, because it's kind of the perfect opponent to do it. But you know, but they didn't do it. I didn't think that they were going to do it.
No,
but it was a nice contrast, and I think it worked with that live crowd. Our buddy Richard Becerra was at the show with his kids, and he was kind of living the moment. You know, he thought the roof would have come off of the place if Jay would have won.
Yeah.
So something that they could always call back to as well down the line.
Yeah, Gunther's the best in the world, man. He always gets people believing that he's about to lose a title and ends up pulling out. The only thing I would do different was when Jey Uso hit that splash and got the false finish there. I would have him go for the splash, but Gunther get his knees up, right? And they both sell down. But Gunther starts making his way up to his feet a little bit earlier, to his feet first. Grabs Jay by the head, almost going to stuff him for the power bomb. Then I would have Jay hit that big super kick, bam, and then Gunther could stumble back to the corner, and then Jay can go for that spear that Gunther blocks. And then the 2 power bombs, and probably I would add that short clothesline he adds too, because I just felt like after the splash, kick out, and then the spear, and then like the spear attempt, and then the 2 power bombs was kind of like too abrupt. You know, I thought they kind of needed one extra thing. I think that's why I thought, I was missing there. But other than that, I thought the match was really good. I mean, they had the crowd at the end for everything. So, but that splash, I know people really bought that because, you know, that's his big finish, right? The big splash. But you don't have to kick out everyone's dance. I wish it was just like, oh, man, he got the knees up. Like, oh, shit. But then that super kick was that hope. Boom. Now he's going to go for the spear again. This is going to be it. Now, stuffs him. Powerbomb. So.
All right, let's get to the negatives. And, you know, I think we need to call out the fact that the first 7 minutes and 40 some odd seconds was in Spanish.
That was,
and it was pretty clear that they were at one point they were in both languages. I think we had both broadcast teams talking at the same time. Not generally an issue with WWE television. If it happened on AEW, we would kind of be making fun of them. So, I mean, you know, it's very few and far between for WWE, but it was still a problem. And it's something that I figured that they would have caught like 30 seconds in. I have no idea why it lasted almost 8 minutes.
That's why I was shocked. Was it a network thing or WWE production thing? You know, like, I don't know.
I heard from folks who watch it on Peacock, and I don't think it happened on Peacock. It was just if you were watching the broadcast feed. Yeah. So, yeah, but that was a little junior varsity for them, and just more of a surprise because of how good that they've been. And again, nothing big coming out of it. Like, here, my question would be to somebody who really loved that show, and because this is the whole key, right? Is when you get on broadcast television, you have this opportunity to reach way more people. Like, we're talking like, I don't know how many homes USA is in these days, but let's say it's in 60 million homes. And there's like over 100 million broadcast television homes. So that just the amount of people you could reach is just much bigger. And if you had watched this live, which I think you watched most of it live, right?
Yeah, I actually ended up watching it live. Yeah.
Okay. I was like, I was kind of like, maybe I watched like the first half hour live, then I was behind, and then I caught up right at the end. And I could have completely been watching it on delay and been completely fine with it, because like there wasn't that one thing where I was like, oh man, I'm so happy that I watched this show live. So that was a negative to me. And, you know, honestly, when it comes to the actual wrestling matches on the Saturday night's main event, I think there's a little bit less of drawing out the match because you don't have as much time. So it's, more action per second or per minute or whatever, which I think is a positive because you're able to get more matches on. But the wrestling, like I didn't sense that it was, was anything on this show better than Drew versus Seth, for instance. Or was it similar? Because to me, it should be better than normal Raw. But I think that match may have been better than anything on Saturday night's main event.
You could argue Braun and Sheamus was better. I'm sure. So you can possibly argue Uso and Gunther was better, but
they're comparable.
Yeah,
it was essentially my point, which is there was nothing that really separated. Like, you know what you're going to get on Raw. And now we kind of know what we're going to get on Saturday night's main event. But a lot of people really love this show, so I don't want to downplay that. For me, my expectation was a little bit higher for both shows, and they kind of under-delivered in that end. All right, so big picture coming out of this show is obviously the Royal Rumble. We'll have a full Royal Rumble preview on the Fight Game podcast this upcoming week on F4WWrestlingObserver.com. Coming out of a show like this, I mean, all the, they're just going to keep building. Obviously, Monday, tomorrow on Raw, there's going to be more stuff, and Friday on SmackDown is going to be more stuff. You said something about the Cody and KO scenario, which is that it made you more excited. I'm like, I feel like they should, they have an extra week. Like I was ready for that match like last week, and like they have like an extra week of stuff to do, which is why I think they went to this contract addendum thing, because it was like, how do we get these guys back and not have to do the brawling around the ring like again, kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think a SmackDown will probably be more promos. I don't think we need another fight though,
No.
I think it just needs to be straight up the go home promo from both men. It doesn't have to, like, Cody could probably be live in the ring, and KO could be somewhere backstage, outside the ring like he normally is lately or something. Hope he's not pulling Michael Cole in his car or Joe Tessitore. Whatever he did last, even though that was kind of funny. Yeah, so I think we'll just get promos. The SmackDown before a pay-per-view is, well, sometimes they load it with a title match or two, right?
There is a title match. What is it?
The women's probably U.S. title match.
Is Tiffy defending against somebody?
Oh, maybe.
I forgot what it was, but I mean that they have so many titles.
Yeah, I know
that the ones that don't get put on the pay-per-view, then they usually run them on Raw and SmackDown that week.
Yeah.
So the other thing is for the first time in a long time, actually I'd have to go back because we may have said this before, but not exactly sure who's winning the Royal Rumble.
I mean, right now, my money's on Punk.
Okay,
to win it.
It's a good one.
And I feel like he's wrestling Gunther at the pay-per-view, at the WrestleMania. And I think if Cena is wrestling Cody, they go that direction. I think it could be Cena and Punk at the end of the Rumble, and Punk winning. And then Cena has to win the Elimination Chamber because he's really been hyped up big time on that pay-per-view. So I get like that last chance to get his last WrestleMania main event spot. So I could see him winning the Elimination Chamber and picking Cody if they go Cody versus John Cena, which I think they are.
Okay, here's my question, because I think Punk is, if he's not the front runner, actually, what's funny? I think The Rock actually has the best odds right now.
Really?
Yeah, he's not even supposedly not even in the match, but maybe he will be in it. Okay, if you're CM Punk, you win the Royal Rumble, and you get to challenge for the title. Why are you picking Gunther?
Because he's a Raw guy, right? I know. Why would we not pick Cody?
Why would he not pick Cody?
He seems to be. I think he's called out Gunther a couple times, or he's going for the world title. He said, or something.
I'm just trying to generally, CM Punk's mindset and
Mm-hmm.
and what his motivation is. Because Fernando has the same thought as me, which is if you're Cena and you win it, then you call out Cody, and then maybe Punk has to win the Chamber to get to Gunther.
Mm-hmm.
But they could do it exactly the way that you said, and
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know why Punk would actually pick Gunther.
I just think that he's gonna pick. I mean, I think they got Gunther. I think they got that world title over, as an important belt. So I think I can see that match. I think Cena. I can see CM Punk winning that match personally. The wrestler.
As a wrestler, for sure,
Yeah.
100%. But if the whole thing is about being in the main event, you would think that that's the
There's
A
2
match.
nights.
No, I know for sure, but what's the A match of the weekend? Is it Cody or is it Gunther?
The both could be A matches, I think, because there's 2 nights now, right? So I think Punk and Gunther is headlining one, and then Cody and Cena's headlining the other, unless it's The Rock and Roman if they go that route. I have a feeling they're going Roman and Jacob Fatu, though. So,
and then Roman is going to be in this match as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Thanos said Roman wins to face Cody again. Punk could use his favor to add himself as a 3-way. I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see it.
I don't think Triple H would necessarily go that route, but they could definitely make you believe that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the current WWE fan base is so open to everything that if they did want to do that, it would be totally fine, I think, with the fan base. But for me, I just don't like 3-ways that much. So
yeah, I wouldn't want to see that either. I think you got so many stars in that company right now. You don't need to throw them all in one big match. You kind of spread the wealth around, especially for a 2-night event. So,
and then what about the women's side? I think Becky Lynch may have the best odds, but again, she's not back or anything. They did announce Charlotte is going to be back on Friday on SmackDown.
Yeah, that's great. She's back. She could be a strong winner, or Becky. Trying to think anyone else that's kind of set up for. Would it be Rhea or would it be Tiffany? The women's one's kind of up in the air. It's kind of hard. It's harder to pick for me. I kind of see either Cena or Punk for the Rumble, but I'm really leaning towards Punk on that one. I kind of see that journey for John Cena. So I'm gonna say Charlotte for now. That's my, I'm going with her.
So Maria says Jordan Grace could win and challenge Rhea. I mean, I think they're probably going to slow. They may slow that roll a little bit.
I don't think so. I think they got to establish her more within, the company, but she'll have a showing like she did last year.
I would prefer a Bianca win just so we can finally see Bianca and Rhea, but I imagine Bianca's going to be tied up with Jade in some way.
Yeah.
All right, so like I said, we'll do the full preview on the OG Fight Game podcast on F4W Online Wrestling Observer. But let's segue to Timeless Tony Storm. So if you didn't watch Collision, we will be spoiling it, but it's been sort of all over Twitter and everything. I don't know if you haven't watched Collision. I don't know how you haven't seen this news. So during the show, they promised they've been promising this for a couple weeks now, a face-to-face with Tony Storm and Mariah May. Tony Storm is the old school Tony Storm, the rock chick, the skater girl, Tony Storm.
Yeah.
And so she comes out and she's a big fan of Mariah May. She wants to be just like Mariah May. Mariah May is basically saying, you're worthless. You're a fool. You're embarrassing. And then she slaps Tony because Tony goes in for a hug. And then Mariah slaps her in the face twice, which I thought was actually, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually, that was very physical.
Mm-hmm.
So Tony goes down and she's selling. And she had the full opportunity to maybe get like a full mount and throw some like vicious punches. And I thought that would have been better. But instead, she gets the belt and she hits her with some very weak belt shots that kind of looked a little cartoony, I thought, for such a serious angle. I didn't like the way that those belt shots looked. And so then she leaves the ring, just sort of irritated at the fact that this thing, Tony was in the ring with her and walking away, and then Tony Storm transforms into timeless Tony Storm, and it was all a ruse, and it was Tony's, the performance of a lifetime, and Tony Schiavone is like, as if nobody knew this was coming. Like Tony Schiavone at that was pretty embarrassing, and it's not the man Tony. I'm sure this was written for him to say it, but just the way that he was so over the top with it, I was like, come on, dude, like you're the biggest idiot if you didn't know this was coming. And so then now their match in 2 weeks in Australia is now with Timeless Tony and Mariah May. So I have a couple questions for you, because my initial problem with the angle was that I was sort of believed, and this is just because I've seen baby faces do this year over year, which is she had the opportunity to like fool Mariah into this false sense of security, and then pull out the Timeless Tony, and then get one over on the heel. The baby face is the smart person here. Make the heel look like an idiot for not, that whole thing. So why do you think that they did it 2 weeks before the match?
You would think they would do it after pay-per-view, right?
Or on the Dynamite Go Home, which is the show that's going to get twice the amount of viewers.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't know why they did on Collision. Like you said, it's not going to get as many viewers as a Dynamite. But I thought the angle was stupid. Like, they did this slap to the face, the brutal beatdown of the belt shots, multiple belt shots, like 4 or 5 of them, right? And she's just fine. She's just like, I was like, biggest performance ever. Like, she totally like no sells the belt shots. So like, I didn't get this at all. I'm not a big fan of the Tony Storm character, the Timeless Tony Storm character. It's kind of cringe a lot, honestly. It's kind of one of those Paul Bearer kind of characters where you're like, oh man, it's kind of embarrassing when someone walks in the room when you're watching wrestling and this character's on it. So I didn't like the execution on this at all.
So I'm not embarrassed by it. I actually like how much she leans into it, and how, just the idea of she believes in this. Whatever this thing is, like it's her baby, and she's gonna believe in the whole thing. The problem, I think, is simply that the ruse. It couldn't the ruse, like Mariah. It seemed like a couple weeks ago that Mariah actually saw through it. So if Mariah saw through it 2 weeks ago, and she was kind of joking about it, and, oh, the rookie, and she was kind of making fun of the whole thing when they had that match on Dynamite where Tony won. Now, now she's frustrated because the reveal happened. So what she thought was going to happen happened, and now she's bothered and frustrated and pissed off at it. It's like she knew it was coming. Like they've been playing it like Mariah was actually in on the joke, and she was just waiting for Tony to reveal herself. So she did, and now Mariah's bothered.
So like, how did this trick Mariah May? Right? Like
the last time she faced Timeless Tony Storm, she beat her and took her title. So turning back into Timeless Tony Storm is the.
But like, what was the trick? What was why did she? Like, did Mariah May let her guard down with Tony Storm? Oh, she's even crazier before, or she's a rookie. She's not even going to challenge me for the title. Oh, I'm going to walk over because she thinks her mind is. She thinks she's a rookie. I'm going to out wrestle her, or maybe I'll mentor her again. I'll be her mentor and you kind of use her. I'll take advantage of her as I mentor her or something like that. But nothing like that happened. She just so it was just so stupid. Just like everything, a lot of stuff in AEW is just poorly executed, and this was another one of them. And Like you said, I honestly they're going to do something. It should have been on Dynamite this coming Wednesday instead of Collision, which is probably going to do like 300,000 viewers.
Well, they're running up against Saturday night's main event, which is a problem.
Exactly. So I know people are saying, "Oh, this is great. It was brilliant." I'm like, brilliant? What's so brilliant about that? She got beat up and no sold it. Like at first, I'm like, well, maybe when she stood up, like, oh, maybe she's gonna reveal like the metal plate that Bret Hart had on when Goldberg speared him, because she took those belt shots. I know you said they're weak, but they're still belt shots. And
I just like the physicality of the slap, and then to go from the slap to these weak belt shots, I thought kind of took me away out of what I thought was coming.
Yeah, this was not good at all. And I mean, they're just gonna happen in a show that no one's gonna what time it's gonna air to watch it. So
that's the other problem, which they're promoting this match, and they're promoting the Omega and Ospreay thing, the Omega powers. I want to see that. It's kind of cool, and we still don't know exactly what the plan is, which is kind of frustrating. And I imagine it's like that because they're not sure whether it has to do with the Max capability or, they're trying to figure out if they can show it live on Max, which is what I prefer because that's going to be a long day for me. So I would rather just watch it in the morning than watch it super late, which is almost going to be like a day late by the time they air it on TNT if it's after the basketball is over. So, I like Toni Storm. I like Mariah May. I think they're both really fun characters. Don't like this direction. I think it kind of takes away from from both of them in a sense. And I guess I would have just liked to see the ruse actually work instead of not work. If we're being set up this whole time as fans, and we kind of know what's coming, which is fine. Like I think it's good to know when you feel like you're kind of in on it. And then the ruse happens, and we're like, "Oh, she didn't even get her." Like,
no,
like it was premature. Like, what's going on here?
I don't know what they were thinking. I'm sure this is Tony's deal. I'm sure Toni Storm is the one that's driving this.
I think it's RJ City actually.
Oh, well,
I think he's the big writer behind the whole Timeless stuff. I think is all him and Tony, I'm sure.
Well, get the trap door for that guy, and all right, they're not gonna let you write anything again. My goodness gracious.
All right, so we got a few minutes left here, and did you catch? I'm trying to remember when this came, but there was a video teasing a Jon Moxley sit down with Renee Paquette. Did you see this?
Weren't they just standing next to each other?
Yeah, they were standing next to each other.
Yeah. I saw that.
And Jon Moxley said that his idea is to have like 1,000 Jon Moxleys. Like that's what AEW should be, 1,000 Jon Moxleys. It's basically saying the people who built the house and care as much as him, like that's the kind of people that he wants in this company. And then he said, this is what something to the effect of like, this is what I was promised 5 years ago, which I thought was interesting because again, a lot of AEW and Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega's promo on Dynamite kind of said something to the effect of, the feeling is back, or I forget exactly the terminology he used. Yeah, that was Kenny.
Yeah.
But, this is Moxie almost saying the same thing. Like 5 years ago, the company was better than it is today, yet they just signed this crazy television deal. They're going to be profitable and successful no matter what, even if the creative goes down the shitter, they're still going to be successful for the next 3 years. And so the idea that the company itself is not cool anymore, I don't know, man. Like, I just thought that was if you're Tony Khan, how does that make the show? Unless you have co-signed the idea that Jon Moxley is basically saying that you promised him a specific company and that company is not here anymore. So you kind of went back on your promise to Jon Moxley is basically what he said.
Yeah, I mean, I think John's trying to be the what was he supposed to be? The fans of the old that want the good, the hot AEW back, and now it's. But he said also like, I want wrestlers, grinding wrestlers.
So
like
I think
you're putting paper bags on or plastic bags on people and stuffing Drano down their throats. Like, how's that turning into great wrestlers?
So I think the idea is because of him, because of Jericho, because of the Elite, there are these newer wrestlers who come in and they don't even need to like wrestle in the indies. Like they just wrestle once a week and they fly in and they do their job and they go home and they don't work on their craft. And it's kind of funny because I was talking to Big Dave about this, and Private Party was his example of like, why is, and we talked about this on our show too. When Private Party hit the scene 5 years ago, why are they essentially at the same level as they were 5 years ago? Like it's almost like they didn't really improve, and maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But they feel the same, right? Some of it is the booking, but I think the Moxie character is like, when I was younger, I had to wrestle all these different places to get better, just to get on the map so that I could be seen by the big company. And here we've done everything for you. And you just come in and you show up and you wrestle your 1 day a week and you go home and then you go on vacation. And then you can't really be bothered with this being the place that you want to grow and you want to be most successful. Everyone's just making money now, so who cares? So I think that's what the character is. But at the same time, while what he's trying to get over is that the company is built off of the backs of people like him, you're really shading these younger guys. But the problem is the booking doesn't enhance the younger guys, so it looks like Jon Moxley speaking the truth. Right?
Yeah, I guess you could say so. But I think the problem with the booking is this is not working. It's not getting over, so no one cares about the storyline at all.
But if there was a babyface who the fans believed in, who were like, hey, Mox, like, I really appreciate what you've done for this company, but at the same time, you're a giant dick and you're wrong. And I'm going to show you why you're wrong. And then you just roll out these younger wrestlers and they all have been winning matches. And if you're Ospreay and you're like, dude, like you're wrong. Look at Nick Wayne. And the problem is Nick Wayne wrestles like once every 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't even wrestle.
So
Mox is kind of right in that this guy doesn't have to do anything and he gets a paycheck because of his predecessor. And this is not a shot at Nick Wayne. It's not his fault.
Yes.
But it's just like wrestlers like that, Private Party, Top Flight, they're just kind of there. And basically they're all in the mid card. So what Moxley is actually saying is true. And I think the only way this thing works is if you have the younger wrestlers proving him wrong, but nobody is proving him wrong because the Death Riders just beat up everybody. So it's just weird.
It's just a bad angle, man. That's just you can't analyze it too much. It's just bad. It comes down to Tony Khan's booking. I know Tony Khan says, well, it's Jon Moxley's booking. This is his idea. Well, Tony, you're the booker.
I did ask Dave about that.
Yeah.
I said, is this Tony Khan kind of letting, someone else, really take the reins? And he's like, no, he's even more involved in this angle.
Okay, then even more it's his fault, right? So it's him. It's really him. It's his creative. He's the problem. He is the issue of all this. Why it's not making sense. Why, yes, Private Party probably didn't improve in 5 years, but doesn't mean you can't get them over, right? In 5 years, or keep them over, or do something with them, hide their weaknesses, and highlight their strengths. It's Tony. why is the Acclaim breaking up? Like, why were they white hot and now and within months they were not? Like,
Max Caster cut a promo on Collision
yeah, saw that.
where I was like, you don't have to go with the first take of the promo. he's like looking around and he's like trying to think of his words.
I know. He's probably just end up going to be beat, which they probably just beat him. I'm sure. I'll do the gimmick. He just thinks he's the best wrestler, but everyone just beats him up.
And look, I don't like fantasy booking. I just, but what I would love to see is for like someone like Omega, maybe Ospreay, to all of a sudden go, hey, like we need to raise the level of the young talent in our company and prove this dude wrong. But whether whomever that might be, but otherwise, I don't think what Moxie's complaining about makes any sort of sense, because the next person he's facing is someone who's older than him, and who did the same storyline on WWE TV 5 years ago, talking about grit and no one works hard anymore, and he's his generation, they had to come up through this and that, and he did the same thing in WWE, a little bit different style of doing it, but it's kind of the same message. So yeah, that's the stuff that it just doesn't connect with me, because even if the way that the Death Rider storyline is going today, even if it was a lot of the House of Torture stuff, but at least I saw that there was maybe some footprints in the sand that were leading me to conclusion of like, oh, there's actually something at the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Then you kind of want to see through it, but I don't see any of that. I don't see any possibility of where this thing is going at this point.
Think about this. He's complaining about the young guys not stepping up. His two guys are going to get probably the first 2 world title shots next are Edge or Cope Daddy and Jeff Jarrett, the 2 oldest guys on the roster. So yeah,
it's funny. Man. What's funny about the Jarrett thing, and I would love to know like what the idea was in doing his little run this way, because the time to do it would have, when we were talking about this, was last year at the Owen Cup. Where you could have, not that he had to win it, but that he would get really close and that, because that cup means so much.
Which they kind of did. They kind of did that, actually.
But like, you would think that putting Jeff Jarrett in that spot is kind of like something for those of us who saw Jeff Jarrett when his whole rise. But even you and I, who are fans of Jeff, going all the way back, we don't want to see this. And so that should tell you something about what this thing is. It's like, if those of us who saw Jeff and who like Jeff, because we pretty much saw his entire career post, and I don't know if you watched all that Memphis stuff, but
I mean, I didn't see his, referee days in 1986, but from 89 on, I did.
Yeah. And if that stuff is for us and we're like, this just makes the product uncool, then man,
it's just rushed and forced and kind of out of nowhere, and unlike WWE, where John Cena is going to have this long journey to, for 2025, Jeff Jarrett's going to last, I don't know, 3 more weeks probably, to be forgotten.
Yeah. Well, so he loses the Mox, and then what happens?
That's it. Unless he tries to win the Owen and try to get another shot at whoever the champion is at the time. So if it's still Moxley.
If you had Tony Khan comes to you and he's like, okay, it's not happening, but just
you wouldn't like that.
Just play with this one. Tony Khan's like, look, we got Christopher Daniels, we got Jeff Jarrett. We want to do some sort of old guy retirement storyline. Which one would you choose?
I would choose Jeff still.
I think I would choose
the promo.
Jeff
You can
too.
really sell it. Yeah.
I think I would choose Jeff too. I think the problem with Jeff is when we see the match, I think we're going to be more sad about it Like, I think Daniels could probably go.
No, Jeff can still work.
I just have this feeling that the whole thing is going to be to make whomever the heel is just get all the heat. Like that's because that's the way that they do this stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, Mox is not that great of a wrestler to really, he's gonna no sell, and it's not gonna be good.
I'm more thinking MJF. Like I think that's kind of gonna be the end game with Jarrett is getting his ass kicked by MJF at the end.
God, I forgot about that. He's gonna get his ass kicked twice. That's what's gonna happen. Moxley's gonna beat him up, and then you would have to put MJF over, of course, right?
I mean, I guess he's gonna beat Claudio on Wednesday.
Shit,
poor Claudio.
I know. Well, it's all right. I mean, Claudio ain't gonna draw you anything, but he can lose. But it doesn't have to be with like whatever Jeff's finisher is. It could be like a roll up or miscommunication with the
dude. He's got to
writers.
He's got to hit him with the guitar.
The guitar could be the guitar. Yep, that could happen too.
It's so funny because there's going to be a part of the audience that sees him bring the guitar, and they're going to get flashbacks to every TNA pay-per-view possible where this dude is just hitting people with the guitar as a heel to win matches.
Yeah. I guess the match with Jarrett and Mox, was it going to be in Alabama? I think they said in a couple weeks. Is that what they said?
I don't know.
That's what it possibly. I mean, that's not really it's in the South, but it's not like Alabama was this big Jarrett territory at the time when they were running it, when he was wrestling. So, I mean, fuck, Knoxville barely gave him a reaction. So if he's not getting a big reaction, Knoxville, he's probably not gonna get a big reaction in Alabama. I don't know if those fans are even coming back or even care to even come back to watch one of their old local favorites, challenge for the title. So
the painted yellow mustache is starting to drive me nuts, though.
I don't know why his hair is so puffy. What is he going for? He looks like Tiger King than anything else.
Look, I was for the Jeff Jarrett character at the during last year during the Own Cut, just because that there's a heartfelt story there, and I was kind of okay with like this retirement thing. But then all of a sudden, like they just put him with like two of the top guys immediately. Boom, no long-term storyline, no reason for him to be in these matches, no like no fight from the bottom to kind of get his way to the middle to then get the crowd behind him. They just threw him out there and they're like, hey, he's retiring, guys.
They should have this be they should have shot this whenever they're gonna do the Owen Hart Cup again.
Yeah.
And then he could say, like, I want to win this thing. If I don't, I'll retire, and maybe MJF's in it, and MJF beats him. He retires him, instead of the world title. And
I was thinking of like sports correlations of this, and it's like, because George Foreman, when he came back in the early 90s, but then I was like, you know what? He was like 40. He wasn't 57. And then I was thinking about like, the Rocky Balboa movie, and how old the character was supposed to be in that movie. I think the character was supposed to be actually the character was 60. So that might be our closest comparison is 60-year-old Rocky Balboa and 57-year-old Jeff Jarrett.
I would okay, so Tony came to me and asked me which of the two. I mean, I'll say Tony, but who's asking for this? Right?
Well, okay, he got a lot of run out of the Sting thing. He got some run out of the Bryan Danielson thing.
And that's Bryan Danielson.
Okay, but that would be the reason, right? He's like, oh, maybe our audience, maybe this works with our audience.
It works with people they genuinely care about, but we haven't. But that be Tony, you haven't done anything to make people care about Jeff Jarrett. Oh,
that's what I'm saying. Like, if they would have built him from the bottom, and like he's sneaking out, getting these wins by being a savvy vet with some guile. And then all of a sudden, he wins a fluky match with the El Kabong, and then the fans go crazy for it. Then you're like, then you can like move him up the ladder. But they just put him with the top guy in their company.
I know
top guys in their company.
Tony will probably just come back to me and say, well, The Owen Hart Cup last year. It was great. Jeff did great. He did great. Remember how great he was? The great everyone. I'm like, yeah, but that was in May. You haven't done anything since then with him. He's just been, on the pre-show of pay-per-views.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't done anything to establish him. So now you got to start slowly. You can't just do this in 2 weeks. That's how I would say it. But he won't listen to people like that. He wants people to go, oh, yeah, your ideas are great. Let's run with it. And that's the problem with AEW, right?
Yeah. And, that's a historical problem with people in power. And, I was telling, we'll get out of here in a second, but I was telling some people in our Discord, I was like, because, they're pushing AEW year one. You can go watch all of AEW year one on Max. I was like, what if this long-term storyline is it's not just Timeless Tony Storm, it's Timeless Tony Khan. He's taking it back to the year 2019. He's gonna get his glow up.
He needs a break.
Tony Khan.
He needs to hire someone else.
Yeah. And you need to hire people who you believe in, who you can count on, who you trust, who don't come from 2010s WWE, who and it's really about I'm listening to this podcast called Acquired. It's a pretty popular podcast, but it's basically about origin stories of businesses and such. And I've been reading a lot of stuff about business, and I come from a startup company, right? I'm a co-founder of a startup. And in my history of seeing management and seeing ideas and seeing like how messages get through today versus how they got through 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes people get tired of people. You get tired of hearing the same thing from the same people. And sometimes that message needs to change. Sometimes needs to be a new person. To me, the man built the company from his bank account. He made the deals. He has the contacts. He found the wrestlers. I do think that he deserves to run this thing in the way that he wants. But I do also think he's a much better businessman if you look at what the company is doing today as far as their TV deals and as far as this deal with Max and as far as their pay-per-view. They still do, good pay-per-view business. Like, he's doing all of those business deals. And I think that's the best part of his game. The creative side of that is probably the thing that he likes the most.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also like sort of different skill sets. Now, he may go, well, look at Vince McMahon. And yes, I get it. I understand that part of it. Vince did run all of it. But look at WWE today. Nick Khan and others are doing those deals. Triple H and others are doing the creative. Tony Khan's company is so big from a roster standpoint that how can he not just ghost people because he doesn't have all the time in the world to just get back to everybody who's frustrated or whatever, right? So I bring up this word a lot, which is organization. WWE is very organized. I can see it from how they lay stuff out. Do they still have angles that they drop at the drop of a hat? Sure. Like they still do, like the Wyatt Six. Like, people were telling me that they had like this long-term plan with these guys, and then I haven't seen them in I don't know how long.
On SmackDown, apparently. Sometime.
I know.
Yeah.
But and that's just an example. Yeah. I'm not even necessarily like saying that complaining, because I'm not the biggest Wyatt Six fan, but that is an example of sort of the same thing. But it's not happening to their biggest, best business storylines, their biggest hype things that they're putting their money behind. That stuff is not happening right now. And, I think if Tony focused a little bit differently and had some trust with some different people, but I'm sure at the end of the day, he's like, I built the thing. I trust myself. And when we were at our best, I was running the show. Look back to 2021, and he's right. So I think that's a hard thing to do, and you have to be a really secure person to go, okay, I'm not doing this job as good as I can. I may need some help here, and he's also the guy. He's also the guy who pays for everything. So he just by proxy, he has all the power, and he should.
Yeah,
It's up to him to kind of do the other stuff. So
he'll look at his, whoever his close confidence when it comes, confidants when it comes to booking or creative. Maybe switch those people out and get some new voices in the room, because if he wants to still oversee everything, that's what he needs to do. They had Bill Dundee booked for Bill Watts, but Bill Watts, still making sure things are, going good and definitely throw his 2 cents in, obviously. But yeah, I think that needs to happen with Tony. I think maybe he needs to kind of just, okay, well, we'll listen to Jericho for a while, but I'm not saying Jericho's the guy now currently, but I'm just saying like, well, I gotta switch him out. Maybe someone else has some fresh ideas, and then give Jericho a break from creative if he was involved in it. Let's hope not, because this creative sucks.
Somebody said, I think it was Lady B in our Discord. She was watching AEW with her friends, and she was also, I guess the friends' kids were there, and so they were watching Jericho. I don't when was this? This would because Jericho wasn't on.
He just wrestled on Dynamite or something like that, right?
Okay,
or Collision. Maybe it was Collision.
Whenever it was,
yeah.
And she said that the kids said, "Auntie, how could this guy be your favorite wrestler?" But it's because they're watching the 50-year-old Jericho versus the 28-year-old Jericho who was so cool back then. But that's what happens. Like this.
I saw a tweet about because the Grand Slam maybe possibly airing after the All-Star game, and someone wrote like, "Remember the last time they followed a high-profile NBA game, and it was like all the tweets about Jericho being like." What happened to Chris Jericho?
Yeah,
it's pretty funny.
Yeah. All right, we are done here. We will be on the Fight Game Podcast, like I said, Wrestling Observer on WrestlingObserver.com, F4WOnline.com. Catch us there on Thursday night, Friday morning. Also wanted to give a shout out because we did live streams on this channel, this YouTube channel, and if you're listening on audio, just search for Fight Game Media Network on YouTube and you'll find us. We did live streams. I think, let me think about this. It was Wednesday night. So Wednesday night was the Dynamite show. Thursday afternoon was Jeremy and Steven with the New Japan Speaking of Strong Style. And then Saturday, after Saturday night's main event, The Wrap went live. This morning, Power Bombshells was live, and now us. So that's 5 in a matter of like 6 days or 5 days or something like that. So lots of live shows happening on this YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube, throw us some likes, and I really appreciate the people who are in the live feed. Fernando, Maria, Dr. Thanos. Really appreciate all of you folks who were in the live chat, and I'm starting to see some folks kind of cross over a lot of the shows. You see some folks pop into the different ones as well. Really appreciate that. That's a lot of fun, and we'll get to know you a little bit if we see you in the comments, like I do on the F4W YouTube page. All right, that is it from here. For John LaRocca, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.